streets are roaring, overspilling. Next, old is boring, new is thrilling, cheap is scoring. Next, first the thunder, just a murmur, a little wonder. Next, then the wonder, see how pretty, going under, what a pity. Next, streets are buying, use the lotion. Next, streams are dying, mix the potion. Streams are dying, try the ocean, brilliant ocean. Next, never mind a small disaster. Who's the stronger, who's the faster? Let the pupil show the master. Next, brilliant ocean, still improving. Next, make the motion, keep it moving.
Well, you know, I feel as though this is a wonderful performance of a wonderful production, and you know, as one of the authors, it's enormously gratifying to see the work done so well and so inventively.
Well, let's talk about the work that this director has done on this. Talk about his vision and why it works so well.
Well, you know, there's an irony in this. 25 years ago, Hal Prince made the very bold decision to import Japanese theatrical techniques into the American musical. Men played women, there was very stylized makeup used for a number of the parts and a number of the characters, and I think it produced a kind of a distance from the audience, which was also saw Japan 25 years ago as a very exotic and unknown place. And I think that's no longer the case. We live in a smaller world. Japan and the United States have had a great deal of experience with each other. And we were all wrestling with the issues of what happens when cultures collide. But also, Amon-san, because he's done so many Western musicals in Japan, I think poured a kind of a Western musical theater energy into it, even though he's coming from Tokyo, that has made the show more accessible to the audience, to audiences today.
Did you make some changes for this production from the original?
We did the kind of tweaking and editing that you would do with anything when there was a major new production, but beyond that, no. You know, a little cutting here, a little rewriting there, but nothing substantial.
Because I was at the last performance in 1976. I was at the final performance in New York, and I've never seen an audience react to something. I think you really were ahead of your time. I mean, you opened new doors to what Broadway had never seen, like you said, the different kind of cultures that way.
I think I don't know if we were ahead of our time. I think to a certain extent the show did not fit the time, and that I don't know that the times have caught up with the show, but times have changed, and I think the show is now a better fit with the times that we live in.
It's 1976. That time I was a university's college student. Yeah, that's been in the. I saw on TV in Japan. Looks beautiful, but a little bit weird for Japanese because this is kabuki style. The kabuki style and the musical is mixed together. That time was a little bit strange for Japanese, but I'm waiting. I saw some Japanese director will do that, but I don't know. 4 years ago, nobody won't do it, and I decided, okay, I will go. I will try to that. Because this is Stephen Sondheim and John Weidman's lyrics, so music and lyric and story is so beautiful. Very touch my heart. Of course, outside is spectacular, but the inside very deep. Like a poem or some music is a very calm or silently, but very important, something. And especially 4 years ago, when I decided I have to show to the Japanese audience because we lost confidence and we didn't know what is a Japanese. That's been a way lost identity in that time was, and so I made a show for Japanese.
What memories? Well, one thing is that when I hear Apollo sing, I sort of hear myself singing. I mean, it's like we have the same voice or something. The memory was that it was a good time, and it still is. In fact, it's better. It's just I'm more matured now, and to have the opportunity to come back to a production like this with Amon directing, it's just memories.
Because I was there at the final performance of this show.
Yeah.
And it was amazing, the audience's reaction, that last performance in New York.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. There's poems got a fantastic reaction. It was like saying, please don't go. Why are you leaving? I got that feeling. Well, it's like it should stay. It was a magical production. I thought it was.
Why do you think the show works so well now?
One, I think the theater's smaller. Two, we've gotten rid of the kabuki makeup. We've gotten rid of the kabuki way of speaking. We speak more naturally and more accessible to the audience. And I think the story's being told better this time because of that. I think the audience could connect with the humanity of the characters. I know with Abe they can, because the original production, he was totally kabuki makeup, and it's very stylized performance. So it was hard to connect, the nuances and all that.
And talk about the role that you play in the new production.
Lord Abe, he becomes a very ambitious lord who becomes the top dog as shogun in Japan, and the intrigues that how one gets there and the sacrifices. But this character realized that you cannot fight the Westerners coming in. You'll have to start working with them. Whereas the old guard wanted to, kick him out, but it was a near impossibility because they have guns and we have swords. So I think Lord Abe, and he was a true character, was a wise man.
Have some tea, my lords, and chrysanthemum tea is a tangled situation, as your father would agree. And it mightn't be so tangled if you hadn't had him strangled, but I fear that I stray, my lord. I've a nagging suspicion that in view of your condition, what we should do is pray, my lord. What we should do is pray, my lord.
I feel terrific. It's been a bit of a challenge, after 28 years, but I'm very happy, very proud to be in this show.
Talk about the role that you play in this show, please.
Chrysanthemum Tea was originally a real ensemble number, and in it I originally did the physician. And then one day I was called to Stephen Sondheim's, and he said, we're changing the whole number. And then he played for me the Chrysanthemum Tea as it is now. And of course with 4 verses, and I had to learn them in 3 days. It was a nightmare. I don't think I slept more than a couple of hours a night, and I really went kind of crazy. But fortunately, the mind is still a little there, so I still remember the words.
So what's been the best part of this journey so far for you?
Oh, the fact that that it's an all-Asian cast, and that we are all together, for the same purpose, and working under a wonderful director, and working with Stephen and John Weidman, and it's just been wonderful. It really has been. It's been a joy to come to rehearsals.
I just adore the Madam. She's just a crusty old whore, and I played one of the farm girls in the revival in 1984. And the Madam back then was a man named Tom Ikeda, who I just simply adored, and I really just wanted to honor him in playing this part. It's really nice in this beautiful, stunning show also to have a real sort of almost vaudeville show number in the middle of the first act.
And what's been the best part of this journey of working on this?
Actually working with Amon Miyamoto, Stephen Sondheim, and John Weidman, who have been so loving. It's amazing to me that Stephen and John should have written a show that comes so completely from a Japanese point of view and from an Asian American heart. It really expresses articulates so much that we feel. And Amon for making this show less exotic and more about human beings, and that to me has moved me so much.
Don't be shy, girls. We have customers.
I spent a lot of money on this one. Not quite so much on that one. Smile! Remember, you're enjoying this.
You know, every opening night is always an incredible experience. It's always a reason to celebrate. It's, you know, very corny and everything. But we have gone on this journey with, you know, as a company, no adversity or anything like that. Just an incredible amount of very stimulating and creative work with an incredible director. I mean, world class, no pun intended, fantastic, loving, caring, passionate, creative person. And to have that experience is so rare. And to be in a Sondheim-Weidman musical, when Sondheim and Weidman are there in the room taking notes and telling you what they think and telling you why they wrote something, is unbelievable. So to get to the opening night, I mean, the opening night kind of marks the pinnacle or the culmination of all of that passion and creative energy. And so it's rather overwhelming in some ways. It's fantastic, but it's overwhelming.
Talk about the role in general. What a wonderful role.
Thanks. Well, you know, it's a very mercurial and strange role in the canon of musical theater. He's more, I believe, if you can make a distinction between a storyteller and a narrator, he's, I think, more of a storyteller than a narrator. He embodies a certain point of view of the Japanese experience, which is very tricky and difficult, and yet he also needs to be a messenger and a conduit to the audience. So there are a lot of interesting challenges in the form of address, the amount and the level of casualness to balance with a certain formality and Japanese-ness, if you will. And it is a great fun part because it's kind of whatever you and the director make of it. So I had a great deal of fun doing that. I actually still have a lot of fun working on it and discovering new things about it.
You know, I read how he directed. He was very specific about certain things, about how you move on certain beats and certain numbers. Talk about how you know, he was so pinpointed on so many things.
Well, he is an incredibly thorough and, first of all, the production was done before in Tokyo. So he had copious notes and notation, and he was incredibly thorough about the way that he notated the choreography and from the original production. Now, that's usually a sign of something that's really scary because you think, oh, I'm just being given a map that I need to kind of execute. But he did balance that. He managed to really rather brilliantly manage to balance that with a sense of our ability to make it our own, which is, if you can have both of those things, then you have a well-organized director who lets you do your own thing. And that's what we had, and it was wonderful.
Days arise to be replaced, lines are drawn and lines erased. Life and death are but verses in a poem. Out there blood flows, who knows? Here we paint screens and the rice, arrange the flowers, the moon, exchange the gifts, plant the rice, arrange tomorrow like today to flow.